This video is sponsored by Cardo. I'll tell you a little bit more about them later in the show.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the show, and today we've got a fun one. We have brought out one of our favorite motorcycles on the road. Right, Whitney? I think you just I think you love the Pan America almost as much as I do.
Dude, you texted me, do you want to film with the Pan Am? And I was at your house 10 minutes later.
Yeah, I mean, this thing, we have ridden this so much. It is so much fun. Still am bummed it's not in my garage, but the folks at Cowboy Harley gave me this for a little while, so we figured we'd shake it down against the exact opposite of a Pan America, my KLR650. I've had this thing for a year. It's covered in dust and dead bugs and grime, and it just keeps on going. And we're gonna take a look and see whether or not it's really worth getting the flagship adventure bike, or whether or not you're better served by just getting something super simple like the KLR650 right here. We're gonna hit the road and find out. So diving on in, we have the KLR650 right here. And like I said, this is my motorcycle. It was my adventure bike of choice because it was very cheap when I bought this thing. It was like 8 grand. However, it's a very slow bike. It's only making about 40 horsepower, 40 foot-pounds of torque out of its 650cc engine here. It's also pretty portly. This thing weighs anywhere between 450 to 480 pounds, depending on trim level and the amount of farkles that you slap on this guy. It's a very, very heavy bike. It's also a very slow bike. You just feel like you're listening to the Jeopardy theme when you roll the throttle on. It's a little bit slow, but on the exact opposite side of the spectrum here, we've got the Harley Davidson Pan America. This thing, it is one of the coolest bikes on the road for me. It's making 150 horsepower, 94 foot-pounds of torque out of a 1250cc engine. It's kind of like spaceship level technology from Harley Davidson all the way through and through. You've got electronic adjustable suspension, you got cruise control, you got all sorts of goodies, including rider modes and dirt modes and all sorts of fun stuff that the KLR does not offer. However, this motorcycle costs you $20,000, and that's the starting price for the S. You can get into these for like $17,500 roughly, but let's be real. You want the laced wheels, you want all the adventure farkles, so you're gonna go with the S. Now, in order to keep this video a little bit shorter, because we could talk all day about these bikes, I wanted to just mention briefly what these things are like in the dirt, because I have spent a ton of time riding both of these off-road. And I will say, the Pan America can do more than people give it credit for. The dirt technology on here is phenomenal. The suspension does great. It turns about its weight very, very well. However, it is still a 535-pound motorcycle. It's hard work riding this thing off-road. And with just a 19-inch front end, it doesn't roll over everything like, say, your 1290 Super Adventure would with its big 21-inch rim. The KLR, on the other hand, that motorcycle is very, very comfortable off-road. However, it makes its sacrifices on the street, as you'll see later. This thing, I've dropped this in some very, very spectacular ways, as you're seeing clips of right now. And it just keeps going. I've done what I could to destroy this motorcycle, and there's only one crack in the paneling. Nothing else has broken in a year of abuse. So while this thing is slow, it will get you wherever you want to go and it will not complain. Another nice thing between both of these bikes is that they are full-sized adventure bikes. The KLR650, the reason I chose it over something a little bit smaller is because I wanted a big bike feel. So you can get a full-size adventure bike without spending full-size adventure bike money, which is pretty sweet. However, that's just a quick overview of these bikes in the dirt. Let's get them out on the street and see how they handle in the twisties and on the highway, and whether or not the extra cash for the Pan America is really worth it.
Have you ever wondered how Whitney and I talk while we're out on the road? We're both using Cardos so that we can seamlessly communicate while we're riding. Pairing is easy and can be done in seconds, and the best part is, once your units are paired, they'll immediately repair every time you turn them on, thanks to the DMC mesh connection. It's the perfect set it and forget it solution if you're riding with the same group of folks, but you can add a whole bunch more if you wanted to. They've also got some great beginner options if you're looking for music and phone connectivity without spending a ton of cash. Check out everything Cardo has to offer by clicking that link down in the description below and using the code SPITE10 for 10% off your order. Alright, let's get back to it.
Pan Am is Latin for confidence booster.
I mean, that's a great spot to start. You do look really immediately at home on the Pan America. How you feeling up there?
Spite, I was born on a Pan America. I mean, this was the first ADV bike that I did a long trip on in Sturgis.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we were riding hundreds of miles a day, and I like fell in love with the ADV life almost immediately.
Yeah, you really self-actualized on that trip.
And I thought about buying one every day for months.
Yeah, it's just gives you this great impression. It's such a fun motorcycle.
It's almost perfect. Like, I hate to say that, but it's almost perfect, dude. Do you agree?
Yeah, I really do. And like, I hate to say it too, but it's for me, it's literally almost perfect. It ticks every box. The only thing I think that really annoys me about it is just how fiddly some of the electronics can be from time to time. Like, if you turn it on and off too many times, it'll accidentally pop itself into limp mode. But most people don't do that with their motorcycles. They're not switching them on and switching them off. I do that because I film. So the electronics can be a little bit fiddly, but otherwise, it's like, it's a dream, you know?
Dude, this bike is perfect. And I'm not being paid by Harley Davidson to say that at all.
Yeah, I can really tell how much more fun you're having. You're immediately riding faster. You're just more loose and more comfortable on that motorcycle than a lot of the other ones that we've been on.
Dude, this bike is rubbing salve on places that I didn't know were dry and barren. I'm like, this is what I'm missing. Like, it makes me reflect on my cruiser style bike at home. I'm like, wait a second, this is the experience I'm potentially missing out on?
Mm-hmm.
All right, Spite, how are you feeling?
You know, I'm not feeling like I'm on cloud 9 necessarily, but I'm also not having a bad time. I actually am one of those weirdos who really likes taking the KLR on twisty roads. It's surprisingly capable, and I really try to just push this bike as hard as I can. I have a lot of fun taking this through the twisties. I actually did a long trip this last summer to Eureka Springs and did all of those Arkansas hill country twisties on this bike. And I was out running some guys on like Jixastows and super adventures. You know, I was doing a pretty good clip, and the bike is not incapable. It's just you really have to coax a lot out of it to be able to really get after it on a twisty road. You know what I mean?
Yes, because somebody like me who's never getting after it unless it's a certain time of day on a certain type of bike with the planets aligning, that bike's not, I don't want to do that at 9 a.m. on a Wednesday. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah, and it does make this bike a little hard to ride in a spirited way. But, you know, I'm not missing the just like biblical level of electronics that bike has. I'm totally cool to just chill and like smell the roses on this thing.
Yeah, those 1987 roses.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm here for the bionic flowers of the future, man.
And I know this comes on the heels of me saying that the Versus 650 was the most boring bike I've ever rode, but this is not necessarily thrilling, but it's also not as average. It's got a lot of flaws, but I like it despite those flaws. You know what I mean?
Yes, and it's like what I'm thinking about, I secretly want to know what people want to hear. Do you want to hear like, okay, I'm a budget driver, I need something just to get me into the ADV space, and I don't have a ton of cash and I don't want to go into a bunch of debt? Or do you want to hear the like, look, what should I get? You know, like what do you think people want to hear?
Well, I think they're really here to wonder, am I missing out? And I do think that in a sense, at least in the Twisties, you are missing out if you go with KLR over Pan America. The Pan America is a much better handling motorcycle. And the electronics are really confidence inspiring, and the power is a ton of fun. And the KLR, there's no way around it. It can be just a little bit bland.
Yeah, but also like thinking about your personality, it's like I want a challenge on the side of the tire. I want to go have some fun that doesn't make any sense.
Yep.
So if I'm not as confident, I'm 100% picking the Pan America all day, every day.
It's such a good package, but that's what you expect when you get a top shelf spaceship motorcycle.
Yeah, you are looking for 20 grand worth of goodies and things to make you feel like Superman on the road, but I know that I'm not going to get that on a GS. I can tell you that. I've ridden one.
Yeah, that's true.
And like the GS, the whole line feels like an absolute behemoth of a line. Like we rented one off Twisted Roads, and I didn't even feel comfortable riding it because it was somebody's personal bike. I was like, man, I don't want to take any chances on this, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But it was hard to throw a leg over. It was hard to get off the kickstand. It was just an absolute spaceship, which is what I want, I guess, if I'm going to go crush 2,000 miles, you know, and ride down to Chile or something. But this is way more agile.
It's also way more welcoming and friendly, which is something that I wouldn't have expected from the Pan America.
But if you think about trying to get a legion of cruiser riders to turn their heads and consider riding off-road, I think they nailed it. They absolutely nailed it. It's a good gateway bike.
For sure. But that's our thoughts on these bikes in the Twisties. Let's swing this around and get them on the highway and see which one we like better. Spoiler alert, it's going to be the Pan America. How do you feel with that bike at a stop?
We put it in the lowered C position. I feel totally confident. I thought I might drop it. This road's a little sloped. I was like, Jesus Christ, was this 40-inch seat height?
Mm-hmm.
Super tall, which is great off-road, you know.
It does the thing off-road, and it's like a lot of adventure bikes. You have to get them moving to really get comfortable, but when you're at a stop, they can be problematic, especially if you're shorter, which is actually why Kawasaki is bringing out a lowered seat height version of the KLR this year, the KLR-S.
Why is there a 20-year lag time for Kawasaki?
Because it's Kawasaki, and they make like big ocean liners and farm equipment and not motorcycles, although you can argue that the KLR is a piece of farm equipment.
So there's just one guy in the motorcycle department going, hey, so there's shorter riders out here, and they'd like a shorter seat.
And believe it or not, it fell to Harley Davidson of all companies to be like, yeah, let's make a bike for some shorter riders to be comfortable on, which kind of blows my mind, actually.
Harley Davidson was like, let's make the most perfect ADV bike. Am I gonna get grilled for that?
No, I don't think so, although the possibility exists. I also will point out the fact that I love how like you are also as enthusiastic about that motorcycle as I am, because it validates my own enthusiasm to an extent.
And you are a very opinionated person, so when I asked you, Spite, isn't this bike nearly perfect? I was totally anticipating you to be like, well, there's this. So the fact that you agreed with me, I was like, oh, we are on the same wavelength about this bike.
Oh yeah, for sure. Now, we're going to keep the highway segment here pretty short because, like I said earlier, spoiler alert, the Pan America is better in every way on the highway. It's more stable, it goes faster, it cruises more comfortably, and the technology really helps. However, for the little KLR here, I will say, I have ridden this motorcycle from here in Austin to Atlanta and back. It was like about 2,000 miles. I did it in 3 or 4 days, and it did it with, it did not complain the whole time I was doing it. It just puttered away. I've also ridden it to Eureka Springs and back, and it just puttered away. Do I wish that it had a 6th gear? Yes. Do I wish it had a 2nd cylinder? Yes. But, you know what? It gets the job done. However, it's also hard to look at the Pan America and be like, yeah, it could get the job done, but I could also be really comfortable while I'm doing it, you know?
Well, you said it would take longer. If you were going to go cross country, it was just going to take way longer in the KLR. And I'm like, okay, well, that's a, you know, no from me. I'm not going to pick that then.
Yeah, I've actually done a cross-country tour on I did the other side of the country from California to Austin on a Pan America, and I was able to cruise at like 95 the whole time.
Yeah.
It was great.
This.
Like, you could just haul the mail on the Pan Am.
Also,
and
look at that old school throttle lock you got going on your
Yeah,
on your KLR.
I have to use a throttle lock to hold the throttle in place, which is a bit of a bummer. But it works, you know? It works. But sometimes you don't just want your motorcycle to work. You want it to be a little bit, you want some festivities. So to start wrapping our thoughts up here, I want to just give you my shakedown on both of these bikes, and I want to hear what you have to add to that. So my read on the KLR650 is it's for the guy or gal who is the unyielding adventure rider, the person who does nothing but ride off-road, and when they have to begrudgingly get on the pavement, they want to do it comfortably, because riding a dual sport on the highway sucks, you know?
Yes.
This guy, it does highways and it does it in comfort. I mean, the seat's pretty wide, there's plenty of room to sit on, and it's a full-size adventure bike. And, you know, despite it being relatively underpowered, it still does 75 all day long without complaining. But the Pan America is for the guy or gal who has room for one bike in their garage, and they want to do everything that they want to do everything a motorcycle can do, off-road, on-road. I've even seen a Pan America on a racetrack, you know?
Oh yeah. I could actually see that. It's great at everything. So racetrack doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, and it was Kyle Wyman, of all people, who was riding it around a racetrack, so who's hauling the frickin' mail. But yeah, the Pan America is the bike for somebody who needs one motorcycle. The KLR is for somebody who's using this solely as an adventure motorcycle. Off-road is its main point. The Pan America, its point is everything. It can do everything. What do you think?
The KLR is my post-apocalyptic choice. It is my fix-all beater. It is the bike I want in the Ukraine. It is the bike I want in Vietnam. It is the bike that I know I could go live with in Central America and not worry about it and do all the mechanics myself, right? But spoiler alert, I am a housewife. I stay at home, and when I go out to ride, which is usually only whenever I'm helping Jake or helping Spite, I need the bike to be awe-inspiring, giblet tickling, I want to be wowed by it. I like all the Farkles. I'm a secret futurist. I love all the electronics it has to offer. I'm not doing any hardcore mountain riding at this point in my life. I plan on it, but I'm probably going to do it on a Pan America. So I like debt. I like going into debt. I like getting the nice thing. I like reaching for the nice bike. That is me, Pan America, all day, every day. But I hate that I'm probably, like, I never take my bike to the dealership. I don't own bikes that I have to. This bike I might. What are your thoughts on that real quick? Like upkeep and maintenance and...
Well,
on the Pan America specifically.
As long as you don't have an electrical issue, it won't have problems that you can't do at home. You don't have to do the valves on it because it has hydraulic lifters.
Ooh.
So you never actually have to service the valves on that engine, which is awesome. It's not as maintenance intensive as it sounds, and it's not as unreliable as people have said. There were a ton of problems with the first run.
As there would be with any first run of any bike.
Yeah, and Harley's sorted that out for the second generation and stuff. They're a lot more bulletproof now than they were. However, there are still people reporting issues here and there, so. But let me ask you this real quick before we wrap up, because I know you're so in love with the Pan America. Do you think you could love a middleweight adventure bike like a Tenere 700 as much as you love that bike?
You've ridden one, and I asked you because I'm thinking about jumping motorcycle genres. Does it handle the way this handles?
Not on the road. It's not nearly as exciting on the road as the Pan America is, but off-road I would argue it's probably a little bit better.
Maybe. I'm not gonna die on the Pan America hill. I don't die on any hills really ever, so maybe. But I don't know, man. We've ridden a lot of motorcycles together. How often do you see me jump on one and I'm like on another plane of existence?
Yeah, you don't normally self-actualize on a motorcycle. It's rare for that to happen. So clearly the Pan America is doing something right for you.
I love it. I love its bike. God damn.
Well, there you have it, guys, where we found that the Versys 650 was exactly 1/3 a multistrada Pikes Peak. The KLR is not necessarily the worst of the two bikes. They're just, I would say they're meant for two completely different riders. And there's a lot to love between both of these. So, with that being said, we're going to wrap things up, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. See you later.